All right, good afternoon everyone. My name is Mika Laude. I'm head of the technology in Delegation for Cyberspace and Global Cyber Hub. Perhaps I should be starting from that's why actually there is in open source and cybersecurity even there is a speaker from the ICRC, which is the International Committee of Red Cross, and how the open source is touching the ICRC. But it's good to understand first that where the ICRC is coming is, and we are one of the oldest humanitarian organization in this planet, almost 160 or more than 160 years old, and established by the Henry Dunant. And we are having a rather special mission when it comes to the humanitarian job, and our role, mandate, and working modalities are around the conflicts. So what we are doing is that we are protect and assist people affected by the conflicts. We are prevent suffering of them, promoting the international humanitarian law, and we are coordinating this kind of things, what we are calling international activities conducted by the Red Cross and Red Crescent, which are our family members in such. But the main thing, actually, when we are starting approaching the digitalization of the ICRC is coming from the fundamental humanitarian principles, which we are having humanity, neutrality, impartiality, and independency. And I would like you to keep this in mind when I'm going further a bit with this presentation. But this 160 years long journey, of course, has been also having a digitalization. We have been making digitalization like all the other companies in this planet to make our work more efficient, to save money, to be more efficient in different places around the world. Oh my God, we are having a clicker. Good, thank you. Luxury, yes. All this high tech. Yes, let's see. Good, it works. It even works, okay. But of course that to make ourselves more efficient, we have been going through the road with the digitalization, which is also meaning that we have been digitalizing our human resources, salaries, payments, the logistic, all these kind of things what we are needing to do to take care of the beneficiaries around, in the different conflicts around the world. And everything went fine, or pretty fine, until recently we have been having more and more the challenges that this digitalization has been leading to the unfortunate consequences that first, humanitarians are full-fledged stakeholders and targets in the cyberspace, so that we do not seem to be having a similar privileges as we are having in the real life in the digital space. The lines of the digitalization and humanitarians are blurring in the internet. Geopolitical competition in cyberspace has becoming rather significant and visible. This is meaning that those digital providers what have been usually providing us tools and assets and functionalities have been starting to take in the side in the conflicts. And as you remember those things what I was mentioning, which are the values of the ICRC, then we are starting to having a bit, digital dilemma that how can we serve and behave neutral if our suppliers who are providing these digital assets are not the neutral ones. And of course that infrastructure and standard settings, these are also impacted, so that we are seeing that cut off of the internets, the infrastructure disruptions. How are you coping in this kind of environment? And of course that even the standard setting is starting to become a bit geopolitized, so that there are countries which should be providing standards, there are countries which should not be providing the standards. And this is not fitting actually for the organization which try to be neutral and working around the globe. And so we're seeing that military espionage, surveillance, crimes, all these have been starting to coming as a part of the package what we are receiving when you are having a digitalization and you are having vendors doing the digitalization for you. So suddenly we are having the question for ourselves is that how can we take care of a job what we are considering very super important, and having at the same time in the NIHA. And if you are wondering what the NIHA is, that's an abbreviation. In ICRC we're having a lot of abbreviations, yes. The neutral, impartial, independent humanitarian action. So how can we do this when utilizing this kind of digital assets? And of course that, as well in the political and tech sector, dependencies, vulnerable locking, splitter net or balkanizations, these are coming all the top of the what we are calling this digitalization of the assets what we are using. And then, last but not the least, is import-export controls, dual-use technologies, Wassenaar Agreement, and all these which are piling on the top of that. Because where we are going, we would like to take our digital assets with us. And suddenly there are governments who are saying that you are allowed to use our equipment in that country, but not that country, or neither in that country. This is making our job rather challenging. So, how are we starting to solving this? So what are the issues and impact what we are having? So usually this digital space is rather invisible, so it's not coming in the mind in the first place. Secondly, the security and safety of affected communities. So the starting point what we are doing is that for us is that do not make any harm. So when we are using our digital asset, it's not only to improving our own efficiency, but it should not be endangering the people who we are trying to help. And of course that it might be also leading a loss of trust and access and security, and especially I would be underlining that trust, because this is also partially a perception game what we are having. So that when we are working with the beneficiaries, would you be giving your information, sensitive information, which might be leading even your death of your relatives or people in the stakeholder who is not able to be accountable enough? And this is, of course, the thing what we are thinking also, that we have to earn our trust every single day, independently where we are working. Availability of services. I was already saying that the splitter net, shutting down of the internet and all these are impacting the availability of services, what we try to do for ourselves, but also offer for the beneficiaries what we are having. So we are having a huge amount of services, digital services, for the people, for example, how to find the relatives, how to trace the families. All these are digital services what we are running in our platforms. Ability to engage with the stakeholders. And of course that this is also one thing which is sometimes difficult to understand, that we speak with everybody. We speak with the Yidahis, we speak with the Telebans, we speak with the NATO, because there are a lot of things what we have to communicate between different parties which are having conflict. Because consider that we are having a transportation from the hospital to the airport to evacuate the wounded people. We are calling everybody and saying that, hey, we will be having a convoy, don't shoot us. We are having a valuable assets what we are transporting to the airport. So we have to have a possibility to engage with the stakeholders, and the stakeholders are not engaging us if we are not able to prove our independence. Once again, winning the perception. And then we have becoming the question, alternatives. If the world is so geopoliticized, can we make solutions which would be proving and creating the perception that we are really independent? So, how to build the trust in the humanitarian action? Is neutral, independent and impartial humanitarian also the tool for the trust, acceptance, access and security in the cyberspace? To be honest, I don't know. But what we are trying to do in this delegation, what we are having here in Luxembourg, thanks to the Luxembourg government, is that we are trying to now find out how far we can go with this kind of thing. How far we can push the boundaries, and what we can do in this area. And if so, what does NIHA mean in the digital environment? This is also a good question. Is it meaning hardware? Is it making software? Is it the control system? Is it the key management, encryption? What is the NIHA meaning in the digital environment? Is there a certain system what I can use? Is there a certain system what I can't use? How you are drawing the line? And perception of the NIHA. as was in that most of the people do not know what is the NIHA, but anyway, that the perception of the NIHA among the people who we try to help and what we are trying to engage and with whom we are contacting. And in practice, how do you operationalize these kind of things so that even you would be having assets, how you are running the operation based on that? So we have been asking this kind of question from clever people around the world, and we were having this kind of recommendation from for us what we were seeking. We were leading this kind of the study, and there is a final recommendation to cover states, Bellingers, tech companies, and humanitarian organizations. And of course, that what we can all do work is the humanitarian organization, but therefore we have to have an active dialogue with all the other places or the stakeholders, states, Bellingers, and tech companies. And this is, of course, one of the thing which has to be happening beside the technology development, so that technology is not the only solution for this, that you are having open source or you are not having the open source or proprietary, but you have to also engage the parties which are creating this perception, which are trying to be impacted with the perception. So, guiding principle, digital space is not lawless space, including during the armed conflict. And this is basic the thing what is coming already with the Geneva Convention. Protecting civilians from digital threats requires investment in legislation, policies, and procedures. Okay, certain things what we can do, but certain things has to be happening with the other ones who are then enforcing, for example, the legislation happening. Political and military leaders should focus on the protecting civilians. Rather self-evident states, tech companies, humanitarian organizations, civil society, and others should join forces to use digital technology to enhance the protection of the civilians. So there is a recommendation for all stakeholders. There is also a recommendation that the humanitarian organization, which is of course touching us, so that how do we protect the data that we are collecting and processing? How we are preparing the target of misinformation, disinformation, and harmful information, because this is also part of the challenge in the digital space. How do we develop the responses for MHD? How we are strengthening efforts to raise awareness to the legal rules of the protection of the civilian in the international humanitarian law, and naturally working together with the public and private institution and in innovation. So earning and maintaining the trust. All these has to be taken into account when we are putting these together. So, delegation for cyberspace and global cyber hub. What we are doing is that we are trying to do the testing, the cutting-edge safe testing ground, what we are having here, support of the ICRC's effort to digital issues, engagement in the digital sector infrastructure, pioneering geopolitics and digital spaces and tech ecosystem to collaborate with the ICRC. And this is, of course, one of the reasons why we are here, is that we try to be part. No, we are not trying to be part. We want to be part of the cyberspace ecosystem here in Luxembourg, and also reach from here other stakeholders, so that who would be like-minded, who would be understanding what we are trying to achieve, and of course that would be supporting us in these areas. So we are having a safe testing environment. We are having own data centers, actually 2 here in Luxembourg. And we are working with to finding out that how far we can create our own data centers, which would be working not only from the hardware, software point of view, but also hardware point of view in the open source. And of course that we are also understanding the environment where that even the Switzerland is not part of the EU, we are still in the Europe. And this is of course, when we are looking this kind of European view, is that and the gatekeeper designations, there is not very much European companies in this area, unfortunately. And this is meaning that what has been happening in Europe is that we have been going from vertical high-tech country to horizontal high-tech country. So that the verticals are coming from outside and the horizontal is something what we are doing here in Europe, which is making actually a bit more difficult actually to get the good people, high-tech you made in Europe, and all these can be happening only when we are having a critical mass together, working with the European countries. So, the question what I would be asking, what I was asking already a long time ago actually, is that why the open source is not the winner yet. And if we are looking at the situation where we are living, Today, say there's a browser. 90% of the browsers used in the Europe are coming from two vendors which are not coming from the Europe. Mobile phone operating systems, 95% of the mobile operating system used in the Europe are coming outside of the Europe. Search engine, 90% of the search engines are coming outside of the Europe from the one single vendor. Domain names, underwater cables, all these. So, but anyway, you are understanding the trend. So that this is how the world has been turning in the last 10 to 15 years. And of course, the EU legacy has been having a legacy of the decision making and technology leadership ambitions. But the good thing is that as we have been hearing today, strength seems to be finally changing. But it do not mean that there would be available everything in the next coming years. This might be taking giving up is rather easy. Taking back they might be taking a bit more. But I was not planning to go all these through, because you can read those by yourself as well. But there are certain things what we have been happening in the earlier, which are now impacting that we are needing to discuss things like OSPO. We were having a very good meeting yesterday with the European Commission OSPO people, and my question was, when I'm coming from Finland and I've been working with the Nokia for 40 years, SSH communication, why are we needing OSPO? Early days it used to be common sense that we are having open source here in Europe, because the European countries have been inventing the open source. Now why we are needing OSPO is basically because we have to educate ourselves for the open source once again. So how to make open source then the winner? Okay, these are my personal, this kind of experiences. The first thing is that do not create the national borders, so that this is of course something what we should be avoiding. That not invented here syndrome is rather strong sometimes. Sometimes it's personal egos as well. And also, it's good to understand that basically everything in the telecommunication ICT area is a dual use, so that all these things what we are doing can be used for the good or bad. The main thing is that how the politicians, how the political power is pushing those to happenings. We are creating commercial locks will downside the open source and change the rules. Sanctions are here to stay, which is also one of the motivation why we should be looking in the open source. So how do you take these products outside or bring those in? Every code is valuable, whether it's come from, and what I mean with this is that there is a tendency, I'm seeing this kind of phenomenon, trend happening, is that once again, we have been having a lot of these kind of high-tech wars in the past, and open source might be becoming one of those high-tech wars as well. So that it would be good already to understand that closing the door for some people might be also leading that the mankind is not so innovative and creative as earlier. Many companies are also trying the open source alone and fail, and this is also one of the mistakes. And I think that somebody was mentioning that already today, is that don't do it alone. So in ICRC we do not try to do that alone either. So that we are not high-tech company, we are not cybersecurity company. This is meaning also that we are understanding that we have to work with the society, we have to look at the local community. We have to have partners like CERN or Luxembourg House of Cybersecurity, which are working with us to achieve these kind of goals. But anyway, most of the companies are doing the mistake, but they are having a proprietary, they are moving to open source, then they are saying that it costs way too much, but because they have been failing to do that by themselves alone. And then resistance to change is inevitable. And this is because of this 10 years or 1 decade history what we are having with the super proprietary solutions. If you have been working for one single vendor solution and creating vendor locking the 10-year decades, that is your nature then. And then somebody is coming in and saying that let's try the open source. Most of the people are resisting that. But I like it very much, this Schleswig-Holstein, is that you don't have to have a black and white. right. You can run those things parallel, and then actually you are making this kind of hybrid solution and moving the open source gradually. It's not overnight thing. But it's also good to understand, and the reason why I'm having this kind of funny sentence here, we reject King's president voting, we believe in rough consensus and running code. Actually, this is coming from ETF. This is also a bit this kind of mind change thing that when you have been working with the proprietary vendors, you are making contracts and everything else. Open source communities are not working like that. They are this kind of changing amoeba, and of course that this is also meaning is that you have to educate the people in the making the contracts and support and everywhere a bit differently, because that the open source communities are not working like the vendors. Okay. How to make then the transition? Because this is of course that you have to have even you be having the fanciest solution in the IC or the open source, it do not mean that they are automatically going in the production environment. And this is of course one of the things what needs to be agreed with IT. So there can be this kind of innovation R&D like what we are running here in Luxembourg. But the main equally important thing is that how the IT departments are overtaking these kind of things. So I would be saying that start managing the misinformation. You have to understand that big vendors are having a lobbying organization, and they have been pushing this information a long time to the company management. So you have to also start to change the mindset. Second thing is that prepare to invest in open source. Many times people are having this kind of funny illusion that open source is always free. It doesn't mean that even it's available, it would be meaning free. Just that it's much more cheaper many times than these kind of licensed products. And there's a lot of things what I have been putting here. What are things what you should be considering when you are moving there? And one of the things what I have been seeing is I will be highlighting, there will be a security incident with open source as well. So open source is not meaning that you are having a flawless solution. It's not meaning that there would not be mistakes and there would be not need for the patching. The system is just working differently. And people are saying is that can I really trust for the open source when I'm having this kind of urgency? And once again, this is not black and white. When you are having an open source solution, it do not mean that you could not be engaging commercial vendors to help you and support your open source transition. You can work and of course that you should be connecting yourself in the open source community, but also that there are this kind of the commercial players which are able to support if your skills and competencies are not enough to fixing your systems. So you are not as such left alone if you are moving the open source. So this picture is a bit misleading in that sense that actually the people in the picture should be a bit more grow up, because what we are meaning with the cyber communities is that as I was saying, that the ICRC is a humanitarian organization. We are not high tech, we are not cybersecurity company. And but we are also understanding that if we want to be successful for the open source, what we have to also do is that reach the communities around us, be part of the community. So open source is getting and giving back, and this is meaning that to be able to get, you have to also give back. So that those systems what we are developing for ourselves, we are also sharing with the other ones, not necessarily only with the humanitarian organization, but what we are sharing everything basically what we are now developing, we are making available for everybody. But the cyber community is meaning that our target is that early days when humanitarian organization has been having volunteers, we have been using those volunteers to packing the blankets, packing the rice, packing the water and so on. But why can't these volunteers be also working in the digital space? We just haven't been having this kind of framework and forum. And this is also something what we are now trying to testing here in Luxembourg, is that are we able to gain volunteers also for the digital space? And it's not only that those hacker communities, the developers, but all the others as well. And even we are many times rather technology centric, it's good to understand that we have to make a noise. We have to make our voice heard related for the policy, the laws, the international humanitarian law, and many other areas. And this is, of course, also what we are doing here in Luxembourg, so that beside our R&Ds, what we are having here, we are also having a policy people, outreach people. We are having lawyers which are working in this area. And something what will be happening end of this month is the 34th International Conference of the Red Cross and the Red Crescent. And this is basically bringing together the whole Red Cross family, the national members and the International Committee of Red Cross. And there will be this kind of main topic in this conference. First one, of course, is the international humanitarian law, what we have been promoting over the years. But now there is a second item as well, which is the cyber. So what we are now emphasizing is that in cyber space, the same things what we have been seeing happening in the real life, and with the help of the Geneva Convention, they would be applying for the cyberspace as well. Thank you.